Can you hear me?
Hey,
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow, there's a big button saying join computer audio. Staring us in the face. We got 3 music audio guys here. Can't figure it out.
I feel like it's always a funny test to see how musicians can handle like connecting to audio during Zoom. Like I just recorded with someone the other week and they for some reason got it to where they could only hear me through a set of headphones, but there was 4 people in the room, so they like would have had to pass the headphones around the entire time.
Oh no.
So they were like, "Oh, all of our practice stuff is downstairs. Let's go get it like a speaker real quick." And I was like, "All right, figure it out. You guys are fine."
Telephone, go down the line.
Exactly.
Stick.
Well, other than that, I usually crack my beer to start the episode, so I'm going to do that, and then I'll do the little intro, and then bring the 3 of you in.
Let's do it.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I'm sitting down with yes, 1,000 times yes. How are the 3 of you guys doing?
Good.
Doing all right. Great. Made it through another work day, and that's something.
Yeah, that's all you can hope for at this point. We're one day closer to Friday, almost to the weekend, and then get to relax for a couple days.
Yes.
Like I mentioned, you are yes, 1,000 times yes. For people that might not be aware, it's the group is basically like a math punk genre bending group from Pittsburgh. You've been away from the limelight, so to speak, for a few years, but you're back with the new record that we'll get into. But I feel like we should kind of start at the beginning and at least say who you are and what you do in I don't know, do you guys have like a good way to shorten the name? I know like there's the characters when you're typing, but like do you guys just say
we just
yes,
call
yes?
it yes pretty much.
Okay,
that's our nomenclature amongst yeah.
Okay. Will we go through and say who you are and what you do in yes?
Yeah, so I am Dan Heggendorf. I'm the guitarist and singer and I guess brainchild. I write all the songs and teach these guys to varying degrees. I don't like to tell them too much what to play. I kind of let them do their own thing. But yeah, that's me.
I'm Cameron. I play bass, crack jokes, host band practice, all essential functions.
I'm Ryan Ruff. I play drums and I do audio stuff.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, Ryan was like the main technician, the main audio guy for this record. We recorded it all ourselves. So.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, major props to you. Like this, like I said before we fully started, this record sounds amazing. Everything you guys have going on in it is just kind of mind-boggling at some points. Just because there's so much going on in such a good way. But for people that might be aware of yes, in 2016 you put out your first LP, not to butcher names, called Not Once, Not Never. And I feel I was unfortunately out of like I stepped away from the music scene around that a little bit before that, so I was not familiar with that LP, but that was a fun listen to go back, because I listened to that at least 3 or 4 times through, and then listen to this new record to kind of get a full feel for the group dynamic. So people listening, definitely still go check that one out because it's still super solid. And then in 2017 you released a split, and that was the last media that you had put out since this album comes out June 20th. So it's been 6 years, give or take, if you count pandemic years. I usually try and avoid counting those because everyone was on hiatus during that, but take me kind of back, like
3 years.
Yeah.
yeah,
That was last year. 2017 just happened.
right, yeah,
Give us a break. Time is not real. Come on.
yeah. It's all a construct, really.
Yeah, you're right. It's been radio silence pretty much for a while. I should have mentioned earlier, this is a new lineup. We had a completely different lineup going into, or like right before the pandemic, and went on hiatus in like 2019. I ended up kind of having like a mental breakdown, so a soft breakdown, I guess you would call it, where I just like quit my job, and then I tried to take my 2 weeks back, and then they were like, no, we're actually just gonna let you leave. And I was like, okay. So went back to my parents' house in Philly suburbs from Pittsburgh, and was living there for like 10 months, kind of figuring my shit out, and unfortunately had to like disband with our previous band members, and I ended up getting another job at, I think, like 4 months before the pandemic started. So moved back to Pittsburgh in like November 2019, and I re-met Cam, because we had like kind of knew each other before I'd left, but it was one of those things where we like linked up, and we're like, are we gonna be best friends? Like, why haven't we been best friends this whole time? And Ryan was living with Cam at the time, so I met Ryan just through serendipity of kind of hanging out with Cam again. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, I'd like to start Yes Yes back up again. And it just so happened that Cam is a really talented, guitarist and bassist, and Ryan really shreds at drums and has recorded stuff in the past. So it really just fell into my lap. Like, I kind of just looked at Ryan like, are we gonna be best friends? Are you gonna record my next album? Like, are we doing this? And so we started practicing. I joined Cam's band. We're also kind of the main components of Cam's band, Lawn Care, where me and Cam switch roles. I play bass, and Cam plays guitar and writes the songs, and Ryan plays drums. And then we just have 4 horn players. So that's the difference right there. And yeah, we have been building up to this moment, I guess, for the past 3 years. Like, went from deciding to do this to the catastrophe of the pandemic, and we were practicing in Cam's backyard to like social distance for like the summer. Like, it's like 85, 90 degrees out, and we're sweating our asses off in the backyard trying to learn these like incredibly complicated riffs. And yeah, it's been a pretty wonky journey, but we've been hyper focused for like the last 3 years on like learning these songs and recording. It's just seems like we've been dormant, for 6 years, because we didn't have anything to really, we played a few shows and stuff, but we were kind of just getting ready for this release and getting through recording, which was like a beast in and of itself. A lot of technical setbacks and gear acquisition.
Yeah. No, I mean, mad props for, wanting to get back together and restarting, and, especially practicing outside in that heat. Like, it's getting like 90 right now in like Minnesota, and I feel like terrible dog shit every time I walk outside. I'm like, this sucks. I can't imagine doing anything like physical. Thankfully, I have like a nice indoor desk job, so I don't have to worry about that. But I mean, props to the 3 of you for powering through that. Do you remember that moment where, because I know you have been playing like these fest, there's like I don't remember the name of it, I'm super bad with names, but there was like this fest that you guys play in like the Pittsburgh area. You guys have played for like the last few years. I feel like that's kind of been your main like way back into the scene, like as you guys are getting more shows and like getting ready for this release. Do you remember that initial moment of getting back on that stage to play for the first time, of just like how that felt?
Oh man. So the first time, yeah, Millvale Music Festival is like the really awesome Pittsburgh music fest that I think just had its 4th year this like a couple weekends ago.
Okay.
And the first time we played was at a bar in indoors, notably called Bar 3, I think. And we rolled up, and the sound guys were just kind of like fumbling around, like asking me for help, like, what do you think about this? I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, you should probably have a plan. Like, I don't know if I'm the person to be asking. So I feel like that was kind of like a representative moment in like how it felt to be playing again. It's just like this, it doesn't feel surreal and like not prepared, but we ended up having a great show. And I just remember feeling like really energized and kind of like rejuvenated. Like I really missed it, because for me it was like, yeah, the pandemic screwed stuff up, but also I hadn't been playing shows in general for like since 2017. Like we had a 2-week tour with our past lineup, and then kind of, I guess we had shows in 2018. I can't remember the exact timeline of the, disintegration of like the full band. I think probably like 2018 we were playing shows, getting ready to record. But yeah, it was a great feeling. And then weren't able to really ride it for too long. We just like went into recording mode, and we've only played like a handful of shows since that moment. But I don't know, how did you guys feel at that first show?
It was weird, that's for sure.
It was weird. I personally was scared shitless. I don't know. I definitely like remember like setting up and like see like I can vividly remember like the place we played, but I probably would compare it to like if you ever like drive a car and you just like get to your destination, you're like, I don't remember driving. I remember counting off the first song, and then I remember like hitting the last note and being like, I guess that happened.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in some ways the timing worked out with the pandemic in terms of like Dan mentioned, me and Ryan were living together, and so we already had like a quarantine bubble there. And I feel like kind of as time went on, and like, I don't know about you, but I feel like everyone had like this eventual kind of like settling of like, okay, here's the like 2 people in my bubble that I can see so I don't go insane. And then outside of that, it's a lot of Zoom calls. So I feel like, we kind of, it was kind of the 3 of us. And so it allowed us to spend a lot of time like drilling the stuff and recording. And I feel like we were able to like really buckle down and get a lot done while the world was like frozen and in a panic at the same time. So I feel like we put a shitload of time in during that period. And then to like, I mean, I don't know, at the time it was like, are we ever going to play shows again? Like I remember we had like 2 shows booked in like March 2020, and then it was like in the course of days it was like the whole world was like, no, that's definitely not happening, it's going to be a long time before that happens. So I feel like it was really, it felt good but strange to do that again. And I feel like it was, I don't know, I was really worried that just shows in general were like not going to happen in the future. So to have that, well, it was like our show, but also just like be able to go and have live music be a part of life again was, I don't know, it was great.
Yeah, even recently in like 2022, we had 2 shows booked, and that was kind of like, okay, guys, we're back, we're doing stuff again for real, not just like Millvale Music Fest. And like, no insult to the fest, obviously, just like that was all we were doing, And then both of those shows got canceled because of like COVID outbreaks in Allegheny County, and it was like, okay, this is dragging on for years and years. Like, it's very serious, but also it's sad that, you can't have that creative performative outlet that, I mean, I'm sure you guys feed off of as well, like it's a really important part of my life, and you kind of just have to like suck it up and say, okay, I guess public health is like a little bit more important than my sense of self-worth. But yeah.
I mean, also like, not playing for so long and then finally like reforming and then being like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then have the pandemic happen. The fact that you didn't let that deter you from just being like, you know what, fuck it, this is a sign, like maybe we should not be bringing Yes back. Because like I mentioned this on a few different episodes where like, I mean, now I don't mention it as often since we're so far kind of removed from those initial years, but there was a lot of bands that just were like, this is it. Like we're kind of done. There's no way we're ever coming back, and you still have not heard a peep from them.
Right.
And it's crazy just to see how easy it was just to like see people kind of like lose their outlet and then just like not try and do something to keep going. Thankfully, you know, there's a lot of bands out there that most of the bands that I generally listen to thankfully stayed together. Like they were able to do stuff, and like I've met so many people like doing this that, you know, powered through it, whether it's, you know, doing sending demos across to each other, or, you know, doing what you guys kind of did where you already have your small bubble and then just being like, okay, we're going to add one person to this, and this is our bubble is our band. If you fuck up and talk to anyone else and you bring it in, like, shame on you, but like this is our bubble. So I mean, everything that is all these hurdles you guys keep going through, it's so nice to see it finally paying off here in about 20 days, 19 days. We're on June 1st right now, for, you know, the release of your second LP after 7 years. So I mean, it's nice that you powered through. We're here. We're so much closer to this LP called Super Tiny Infinite Dans, which, man, it's like I can't express how much I love listening to this. And even like, because like I said, I went back and I also listened to Not Once, Not Never quite a few times, and to see I wouldn't say like a drastic change, but there is definitely a change in feeling between the two releases. And obviously, you know, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. This is just an outside perspective, but I feel like this one there's so much more angst right off the bat, and especially coming out of, you know, pandemic and everything that's been happening. Like I feel like this is a great record to come out, and I've said it multiple times on the recent episodes where 2023 I really feel like is this emo revival year, and this is fitting right into all of that.
Yeah, I feel like I don't set out to write like sad songs, like emo, you know, but it just happens, I guess. Like I don't think it's over the top, you know, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not like Mom Jeans emo. It's more just like angsty emo, if that clarifies anything.
yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because even like to me, because a lot of these songs I wrote in some form around the same time as like LP1, and there are definitely some songs that are just like completely new from like 2019, or like we're really forming right before we like recorded the album. But a lot of them, like Slush Fund is probably like the oldest song that I've written that is a Yes Yes song, you know. Like I definitely remember writing that in like 2014, and it was just existed on my hard drive for like how many years, you know. And so I mean, I agree that it has a different vibe than like the first record. I think a bit of that is just kind of like curation of like grouping songs to like what I chose to like include on the first record. And you know, like Dylan Chafalo is the old drummer, and he wrote like 3 of the songs on the first LP, so there's kind of like that different songwriter aspect to it as well, versus all of the ones on this album are written by me. So I don't know, I'm like really proud of this album in that it's to me feels more like a sophomoric record, whatever that means, just like a little more matured songwriting wise and refined. Like I'm really happy with the tones and recording quality that we got just recording it ourselves. Like I didn't expect, not like I didn't expect much, but we weren't using a studio, you know, like, so you never know what you're gonna get.
Right.
And Ryan really pulled through and did like an incredible job. So
I feel like, yeah, all around, like songwriting wise, like just a lot of development from the first record. The like, you know, I feel like angst can come from a lot of different places, and I feel like when I look at like the Dan's lyrics on this record, it's about some grown up ass shit. Like I feel like, and this is probably true for like a lot of like DIY bands that are like, there's the songs that you like write when you're 20 years old, and then you record a few years later, and then the next release is like, you're actually like dealing with more adult themes, more like like issues with society. And like I feel like once you kind of like, as you kind of continue writing songs, you're able to kind of like tackle things more globally. And I feel like lyrically, songwriting wise, like you said, just like a lot of development. And yeah, I don't know, I'm really proud of it, and I think Dan's songs kick ass.
Yeah, I mean, there, I see exactly what you're saying, Cameron. Where a lot of the like lyrical content is more grown up and like more grown up problems, like especially like with the first single that came out a few weeks ago, "Numb Some." Like the way that that starts out, talking about how like it's the most expensive Uber you've ever taken, and it's literally talking about correct me if I'm wrong, uh, like an ambulance ride to the hospital, where that's those are adult problems now, where it's like fuck, I have to fucking pay for this, and deal with insurance to do all this, where like yeah, 6-7 years ago, who like what like more teenage person is going to be like, oh, I'm going to talk about like insurance and bills and
Yeah.
all that stuff, like
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about like getting fucked up with my friends instead.
Right. Yeah. I find it hard to like find the nuance of like getting fucked up with your friends, like hard to convey that in songs. um yeah, a lot. I feel like some or a lot of the record is just kind of like marveling at like the fact that fucked up things are still the status quo. Like it's like, okay, I've had time in my life to sit with this and identify this as a problem, but here I am like 10 years later, and that's still the way it is. Like it's still incredibly expensive to just like care for your body, and like even a privilege to have access to healthcare and like the ability to care for yourself. So, and like again with like Dead Eyes clapping in unison, what like our last single that we're going to be putting out is like just basically eat the rich type of vibes, like it's so cliche at this point, but also like eat the rich, like what the fuck are we doing, and it's like not even trying to be like, hey, I'm pointing out something that nobody's noticed. It's just like, hey, this is still the way it is, and I want to comment on like that feeling of like, why is, if we know the problem and it's affecting people so much daily, like why is it still the way it is, and that is kind of like a childlike approach to it, but in a more, I guess, refined way, or just like sitting with it for years and years.
Um, like I did mention, "Numb Some" was the first single, and it came out on like the 16th of May. So at this point, we're a few weeks out from past that. That being the first new song in 6 years, what was the response like on that? Because I feel like, I mean, I obviously was in communication with Really Rad Records, shout out them. Um, but I feel like I've also seen a good amount of people just like hyping that song up. Like, what's it been like so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been strictly positive. I don't know that anybody's going to be blowing us up saying, "Yo, this single sucks." Like if they are, they're keeping that to themselves. But yeah, it's been really positive, and I think we're still like trying to cultivate an audience. Like we're not the biggest band. We didn't like leave the scene being the biggest band ever, so we're still trying to get the word out there, and like have definitely lost followers, probably just from being inactive for so long and stuff. But um I think I'm anticipating that like once the whole album is out, it's gonna be it's gonna make some ripples, I think. And we've definitely got some a decent amount of streams on it so far, and some love from like different press, like media outlets, and yeah, I don't know, it's really exciting to be on Really Rad, because the first one we put out through Broken World Media, and that was kind of just like Yeah, I'll do tapes. Like, that was like the extent of us putting it out through a label the first time. This is more of a kind of like cohesive approach to promoting the album and actually having it heard. So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's been really trippy for me to like have people hear it just in general as well, because we've been sitting with these songs for how long. We're like, yeah, we know it's great. Like, I've heard the song like 1,000 times. I'm tired of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's I'm just kind of like sitting here reflecting on it. It's really trippy, like I said.
I had a thought, and then I don't want to like overhype the album now. You've already heard it 1,000 times.
No, I still listen to it. I listened to it the other day. Like, it's still a great album.
Yeah,
Please hype us up.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
no worry.
We think poorly of ourselves. Hype us up.
We need this.
Well, if someone's like listening to this episode and they're not familiar with the SES, the one thing that I found really cool is that you can start a song in one, like you guys will start a song basically like math rock, and by the end of it you've hit 3 different genres in the one song. And it's just so crazy that like all that happens and you're like, oh shit, like that was just one song. Or like even within the first 5 songs of the record, you get to the end of Numb Sum, and because you have that like long drawn out outro, and you're like, damn, that was a crazy EP. And then the next song hits and you're like, oh shit, like there's still a whole like B-side to this. There's so much more that I was not anticipating. And I don't know, basically it's just so crazy that you pack all of that into not just one song, but like every song has so many crazy things going on in like the best ways. And it was like kind of refreshing, rather than just listening to like the same like emo and pop punk shit that I listen to all the time, where it's changed up so much in just the one song. Like, what's the thought process behind being like, we're gonna pack everything into this song and just see how it goes?
I'll let Dan answer that, but I just want to say, every time Dan would show at least me a song, I don't know if this is true for Ryan, I'd be like, there's no fucking way we're learning this. This is
100%. I was just like, who do you think we are?
Yeah.
Like, you're not Rush.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, are they going to call my bluff? Are they actually going to try and learn this song? Yeah, I think that for me, it like my songwriting approach lately has been like trying to address the like shortened attention span of myself and everybody that is happening from social media and just technology. Because I know that even when a band I like will put out new music, I'll go to listen to it, and then like 20 seconds into the first song, I'm just like, okay, what's this? What like I'm driving. I'm actually listening to Rush or whatever, like it's really hard to like keep people's attention nowadays, myself included, like, so I think that it's kind of trying to keep just that engagement, keeping people interested, and keep myself interested. Like, it's a challenge to try to weave between different genres or different vibes in the same song. And maybe I really like recycling riffs but with a different tempo or different vibe, like literally the same notes but played in a different way. Like the movies in the beginning, there's like the intro is really slow and drawn out, and then within the next breath it's like the same exact notes but like probably 32 times as fast, or something. Like, just real quick. And so I don't know, it's kind of like a fear of like losing people's attention, but also a fun challenge to like try to make it work and make it interesting. Like, in general, I describe my band as like trying to synthesize pop and like the weirdest shit that I can incorporate in a song. Like, how weird can I get before I lose the listener?
Well, you definitely have not hit that wall yet because I'm still like super hyped and want to keep listening. Um, like it's just crazy things that happen. Like especially like obviously it's got like a double title, but Buzzing Still and Cousin House, where it kind of just towards the middle kind of just splits, and even though it's technically one song, it becomes two songs in its listen. Which I think is just really cool how like it flows so well to be able to do that and just keep it going.
Yeah, that I mean that was kind of like the wink wink, like this is two songs. I'm gonna give it two names with the backslash. Um, but I think that they make sense. I didn't really want to split it up into two songs because the second half is a little more not like boring, but a little more consistent. Like it's just kind of verse chorus format and playing with I don't know. I didn't think that it would like stand alone on its own as a song, you know, and I like it as like the tail end of that song or the second half really.
Now I know, like you mentioned, some of these songs have been around since the original days of Yes Yes, and then some have kind of come around closer to time of recording. Um, is there a song that is on this record that changed drastically from the original idea to the final form?
Oh, that's a good question. The one that definitely comes to mind first is Spellcasting. That one used to have a different title. It had different like lyrics for the pre-chorus. I changed them like last minute before we ended up like going to record vocals, and the second half of the song did not used to exist. It used to be like a minute and 20 seconds or something. And that was while I was working with the past lineup, right, like around before we split up, and we thought it would be cool to like take that 3/4 riff and put it in 4/4 because it's kind of playing with going between like 3/4 and 4/4 within the same melodic line. And then for the second half of the song, we just add one beat to like make it 4/4 the whole time. And you know, that was like a cool idea to me to mess around with the listener's head like that and make it. I feel like it feels like more of a fleshed out song and less of like an idea, you know, just like a minute and 20-second type of here's this verse chorus and then it's over. So yeah, I think that one structurally probably changed the most. I don't know, do you guys have any ideas of stuff that's changed?
I feel like you came into it with a pretty good idea. Like, I feel like I get the impression you know what you want it to sound like, kind of when by the time you bring it to us. I feel like there are a few. The one that came to my mind was Dead Eyes. I feel like maybe just because that's the one that like me and Ryan. I don't know about you. It felt like one of the ones we had to work the hardest on to learn. So I feel like there's probably a little bit more room for like interpretation on that. But I do feel like coming into it, it was like very what's the word I'm looking for? Just like very
Fleshed out.
Yeah, fleshed out, like already kind of like well conceived.
I think I think the only song that I can think of that like changed from, at least from what I remember from like Dan first showing me the song, is I feel like there's the Numb Sum was the only song where like compare, at least in my mind, I'm like, I remember them sounding very different than how it ended up. But I think that is mostly because I think you and I have cool parts, and it was not that Dan's parts when they showed it to us weren't cool. It's just I think we kind of like turned those parts up to 11.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's like at the end where we were like
The verses, and the riff.
Yeah. There were a few parts where I feel like Ryan and I were kind of like, especially like during like solos and stuff, we were like, okay, we got to figure out some shit to do in the background here so that we're not, so yeah.
Yeah.
And also recording, like we're not going to be able to recall all of the cool shit that we added recording, but there's always, room to be adding stuff that was not originally conceived. And I mean, definitely for the obvious one, I guess, is the end of Numb Sum. Like the version that we released is like the single version. So there's like a whole other minute of that song that will be like on the LP that is just like outro trippy looping pedal bullshit, and kind of just like a minute of noise, and that was not in the original song. Obviously, like we just had some fun, and I was like, I want to play with this pedal that I have, like let's come up with something some kind of cool. It's like a nightmare lullaby vibe, I guess is how I describe it.
The fact that we did not have time constraints, I think, really shows on that track specifically. We just had time to just be like, what sounds cool?
Yeah. There was like, these two chuckleheads spent like a year recording guitar part, like just straight up like 2 days a week for a year, just like it was a job, like they were clocking into a factory. And I feel like when like I recorded my bass parts, and then like a year later I was listening like, where did we find 8 more guitar players? Like, how are there so many fucking layers on this? So yeah, I feel like that's a good point about recording. Like, during that process, like having the freedom to just like add layers, take them away, mix stuff up, just like try shit. I feel like definitely,
I remember I made Dan redo a good amount of guitars, and they were not happy. And I was just like, shut up, like, dude, make it sound better.
I was like, dude, the boss needs this on their desk by next week. I needed this done like 4 years ago. Like, we do not have time to be redoing all these guitars.
It's just like, yeah, we did.
Yeah. It's like, okay,
fuck your boss. You got time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that just adds so much more to the fact that there was just no real time constraint. You could take it and just do what you wanted to and just kind of play around with it the entire time, rather than just being like, oh, we've been, yes has been away for so long. We got to get this out. Let's get it finished. And especially like, having Ryan in the wheelhouse to like do it all in-house. And, most bands, they would have to go to like a full studio, and that studio would be like, okay, you guys are here for a week, let's crank the sound as much as we can, and maybe come back in like a couple months or something like that if we don't get done. Where, thankfully you like I said, you have Ryan right there, so it's just like, yeah, let's just do stuff as we're going. And it's cool that you're able to do all that. And then obviously the single of Numb Sum, I've listened to the single version, and I've obviously listened to like the album version, and I didn't pay attention that it wasn't that long outro wasn't in the single version. But yeah, I've definitely heard it in the album version. Yeah, and at one point I would just kind of like it clicked, because I just like let it all just like fade in, and then it just clicked. I was like, wait, this is a really long intro. Like, there's a lot of stuff just going on, and it just like knowing this all now, like it's kind of funny, and just adds so much more to it.
Yeah, you got to get that project rate when you go into the studio. Up front, you got to make it clear, look, we're gonna be here like 7 days more at least than are allotted, and we're not gonna acknowledge it until it's really awkward and too late. And we're gonna be coming in here giving you like $5 an hour. Yeah, I don't know, that is a good point, that there was no time constraint. Like, it really allowed us to, like, it just is really awkward and uncomfortable when you're in a studio. Like, you're paying for the quality and just having that quality readily available, but you, at least from like Not Once, Not Never to this album, like, yeah, I definitely noticed a lot more, like, you just have time and willingness to like try shit that might not make it onto the album, probably isn't going to make it onto the album, but hey, we're dicking around, and it's like a Saturday night, we've been going all day, like, let's just try this out, see what it sounds like. Right. And it's a more, who knows, that hopefully translates to the record, that kind of like freedom and nonchalance. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why I like have these conversations, is because like you get a feeling for like the artists and the bands through their music, but to like sit here and see like the vibes that you guys have and find out like, oh no, like, yeah, there was no time constraint. We were just more like having fun and like putting ourselves into this. Like, now when I go back and listen to it again, like it's gonna add so much more of just like, oh, like they just got to do what they wanted. Like they did it how they wanted. There was like there was no one at the end of the day, or no producer being like, actually, why would you do like a 3-minute outro on this song? Like, don't do that. Like, just cut it here. And no, you guys got to do it how you wanted and put it out how you wanted. And like to me, that adds so much more.
Yeah, well, it wasn't all fun, I have to say, just up front. But the work part feels like when you're like, oh, I got to double. I just recorded all these guitars, and now you're telling me I got to do that again. I got to double everything.
It's type 2 fun, where it's fun when you reflect on it.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it, you're like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Right.
Fun
I
adjacent.
felt like
Yeah.
the fun came in after we got like those basic guitar tracks where we were like really had to listen to make sure everything was like in tune and in time. And then after, you know, we had that, we were just like, I remember like I felt like a kind of like a mindset shift. Like we were just like, now it's the fun part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like recording, like I honestly have like I remember having a ton of fun like getting crazy distorted like lead tones and just getting the most, trying to make the riffs shred as much as they could. It was, I don't know, I feel like I listen to those songs and I have like fun memories of like getting those tones and like having fun for that part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was all kind of fun, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Also, like it took so long that it's like we changed as people from the start of the recording to like actually finishing up in the beginning of this year, like end of last year, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really trippy to just like think back and think of all the shit that happened. And like there were like months where we would just like take off because, you know, just like tragedy shit or whatever, you know, like stuff going on in life where it's like, yo, I'm not gonna be recording with you for a month, dude, you know. Gotta take a, we've been going hard at work, you know, this job for like 2 years now.
If someone, you know, is kind of new to Yes Yes and they're, you know, finally finding you on with this record, like what's something in each of you guys' words that like they can expect to get out of this record?
Oh man, that's a tough question. You guys want to go first?
I mean, you guys, yeah, I feel like it's just like, I'm a big fan of like, as a songwriter myself, I feel like I gravitate towards albums that give you a lot of little like nooks and crannies to like find stuff in, and where like you can listen to it 100 times and you're gonna find something new on that 100th listen. And I feel like that's what this record is for me. Is like every like each one of our parts is like very detailed, very intricate. The songs like reference other songs, reference other parts of songs. And so I feel like the fact that there's like that the material there to kind of draw those connections and like find new stuff, like I don't think it's the kind of thing that if I wasn't in this band and was listening to it for the first time, there's no way in hell I would be able to kind of like make all of the connections and like kind of see all those pieces and how they fit together on the first listen. And that's, I don't know, those are the kind of things that I really gravitate towards in music. So yeah, I feel like it's like an intricate kind of like puzzle box of sorts. And yeah, I feel like it does that kind of thing very well.
I feel like I can tell that you played D&D from your answer just now. It's like a very DM answer in the best way. Yeah, that is a good point. It's like easy for me to forget that like songs reference other songs and like because to me it's just so matter of fact now. Like I've just become, it's become ingrained in me, you know, that maybe I don't realize that would be like that's part of the reason that I wrote it like that in the first place, type of thing, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think that the reason that I really like this record is that try not to take myself too seriously on it, and not to like, that was definitely true of the first record, but I think there's like a healthy balance of like not taking yourself too seriously mixed with like legitimate shit that we should all be caring about, you know. And that's why I really am proud of this record. And I, you know, that's like a difficult balance to maintain or to cultivate. And in addition to all of the like technical aspects that I'm really proud of, you know, that to me also has become kind of just like second nature. But I think that's going to happen when, like, I've been playing guitar for like 20 years, and I think sometimes like myself and all kinds of musicians like we don't give ourselves credit for like how technical the shit that we're doing is, you know, or how good of a song we're writing or whatever, because there are moments where I just sit back and I'm like, damn, this record is really fun to listen to, you know, like it's like I was talking about earlier, the attention span thing, like it really keeps my attention as I'm listening, you know. But I don't know, what do you think, Ray Guy?
What was the question?
Why would you listen to this record? What are you gonna get out of it?
I don't know, whenever I listen to it, I don't know if like solace is the right word, but like comfort. I feel like you really like lyrically you touch on a lot of, like, as Cam said earlier, very adult themes. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like
Well, we are adults. Like I should be doing that.
yeah, no, but I mean, like I feel like as you get, like, as I guess I was getting older, like as I was graduating college and becoming a real person, I kind of felt very isolated, because even though I logically knew other people around me were dealing with like very similar issues, I didn't like have any, like, I guess, like, in a way, like, proof, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, oh, like everybody else is fine. Like I'm the one that sucks, you know? And like learning dance songs and like kind of what they're about, and just actually, like, for so long I did not actually know any of the lyrics. I was just like, what the hell are you saying? And so when we started recording vocals, especially, I finally learned the lyrics, and I kind of was like, in a way I was like, oh yeah, I'm not like I don't know, other people think that it sucks that I can't take care of myself because I can't afford it. Or at the time that we were recording, I was working a real dead end job that I fucking hated. And it was just one of those things where I was like, yeah, I don't know, capitalism sucks. I just felt like very not alone whenever I would play or listen to it.
No, like I can't stress enough how much I enjoyed listening to it. And you know, every kind of like what Cameron said, like every listen you realize more and more as to what's going on, whether because I mean, one, for lyrics it always takes a few listens to fully like get those to set in, but just everything, all the other elements that are going on just add so much more. And it's been great to listen to, and I've truly do love this, and I can't wait for everyone else to be able to experience this record in full, because I hope that they're just as blown away as I am.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's really trippy to think of the idea that other people are going to be hearing these songs. Like we've been sitting with them for so long, and I'm really excited to be able to share them, like especially with my loved ones and then everybody as well.
Now I know y'all have mentioned like you play these songs, you listen to these songs like thousands of times. I'm in this position. I gotta ask this question. This album's coming out on June 20th, but what can we expect on the horizon, musically wise? Or do we have to wait another 4 to 6 years, or what's in the wheelhouse?
Well, with the new pandemic coming, hopefully right now we're going to be in lawn care mode as far as like thinking of the future. This year we're going to be starting recording of the new lawn care record, which is also really fucking good, and I'm really excited to be like having that exist in the world. Cam is like a really excellent lyricist and songwriter, But I think later this, I'm kind of like working on an EP slash maybe album. I don't know. I've seen some things where people are hating on EPs and saying like, oh, fans go back to listen to albums, like quit, resist the urge to go the EP route because it's easier. But there's like 4 or 5 songs that I have more or less fully fleshed out. These guys have learned one of them, and
It's a monster.
yeah,
Learn is a very loose way to describe it.
I think we got there, but it's definitely like you mentioned, kind of the change from the first record to the second record. I feel like there's been a similar kind of like leap in terms of like it just like even wider span in terms of genre. Like it's in terms of technicality,
it's about like quantum mechanics through the lens of like a high school dance. It's extremely fucking angry. Yeah, I feel like
Dan hates quantum physics.
I don't even know what the fuck that shit is.
Yeah, I read a book about quantum mechanics and now I can't shut up about it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like very excited to like teach these guys the rest of the songs. It's a lot heavier and like more screaming, and that's kind of where I want to be with like, at least I don't want to do that forever, but I do want to put out songs that are like just really fucking heavy. And I've struggled to write really, I feel like my version of writing heavy songs is like Diet Heavy or like Heavy Junior. Like I can't really write songs like Cersei or like hardcore bands,
Mhm.
and I want to try and do that a little bit more. And
Are you committed to the name? Because if you are, I should say the name.
I am not. So
Okay.
I feel like that's why we should say the name. It's like a little, it's just like, oh, that sounds cool. But we had an idea to call the EP Meth Nun because I really like the concept of a nun on hard drugs. But and I thought, ample opportunity for some sick album artwork there. But I don't know if Meth Nun is going to be the final. We'll see. But
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I got some songs in the works, right? Like themes are, like I said, quantum mechanics and like skateboarding, like
Yeah, the 2 topics.
Just like
you can see how they go together.
Symposium on, I mean, that is physics, right? Skateboarding is pretty
fair.
physics. Well, it's macro physics, but whatever. So yeah, we've got some songs in the works that I want to ambitiously try to record like the end of this year, considering that these guys only know one of them so far. But I would like to keep the momentum going and try to potentially carve out a space for like doing a full US tour or like a longer tour. Then we have like a week-long tour coming up this summer in July. So it's just tough with jobs and stuff, tough to worry about rent even when you're not living in a place for a month and paying rent for that month. But yeah, just like doing more stuff like this. Like this is my first interview ever. Like I've never done an interview in general, let alone for Yes Yes. So I just saw that there was stuff coming out for Fest down in Gainesville. I forgot that was a thing. So that would be like a cool goal to try and play that, or like some larger shows like that, as we're hopefully gaining some more notoriety and a following. So I don't know, pretty generic ambitions, I guess.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah. But yeah, use this as a springboard for getting a bigger audience and proving to the world that it's worth it to check us out, like keep delivering.
Well, no, I totally understand the whole, wanting to change up the sound, because the way I always think about it is every EP or album is just a timestamp as to where you are in that point of your life. So obviously, these songs, some of them have been around since I think I saw it like 2014 up until like the last few years. So it makes sense as to wanting to change it. Kind of bouncing off what Cameron was saying, where it's like some people are really just, album like I can't think of the right word, but like they're album heads. They want to just listen to albums. I personally like EPs because every once in a while, an artist is gonna have a handful of songs that don't fit any of the other like albums or don't fit right. So like, but whether it's an EP album, people are gonna listen. Do what you got to do. Do what feels right. And then to bounce off the other point, if you need to start getting signatures to play Fest next year, like the petition, let me know. I'll be the first person to sign.
First
that.
one. Okay. All right, I'll hold you to that.
But yeah, like hopefully that all goes well, and like I can't wait to hear what this new sound will be and the craziness that'll come with it. But I lost that train of thought there. But before we fully transition, I know we've talked a lot about the album, talked a lot about Yes Yes in general, but is there anything that I might have missed that you want the people to know about?
I feel like we should definitely plug our tour that we mentioned. We're gonna be hitting Philly. I don't know. Should I sound off the dates or just like where we're going?
So I think this is actually going to come out like a week after that tour's over.
Okay. So yeah, we could just say it was great seeing you guys in Philly, Queens. Yeah, that's all good. We're excited to have already done this tour that you guys all definitely know about.
Sold out shows every night.
Yeah.
Definitely check out Marge Barry for artwork commission. They did the artwork for the front and back of our album cover, as well as our t-shirts from like last year, a couple years ago.
Okay.
Definitely wanted to plug them. I don't know, is there anything else that I'm
just a few other shout outs, I guess. So shout outs to Really Rad Records, you mentioned them putting the album out, been really great to work with. I feel like the kind of like ethos of like we talked about recording the record ourselves, but I also feel like just kind of from top to bottom, like it's been a community effort. So shout outs to Ross Riblet, who made our music video, did some really awesome photography. He's just a hyper talented photographer, videographer. Really appreciative that we have such talented friends. Shout outs to our pals for coming out to shows. Shout outs to all the new pals we're going to meet on tour. Yeah, I really feel like it feels good to be like, just everyone involved with this project. It's like a labor of love. And so I just really am grateful.
Yes. And like we mentioned earlier, got to plug our other band that we were all definitely members of, Lawn Care, going to be recording this year. And I'm really excited to spawn that record like it needs to be heard. So yeah, keep your eyes out for that as well.
So before we fully transition to the later half of this episode, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking alcohol on these episodes because I would definitely do that for you. But I know the three of you are drinking, have a few beverages in front of you. What are you drinking on this fine Thursday night?
I'm going to go ahead and plug. I just got back from a little road trip to Chicago, and I lived in Wisconsin for a while, so I got some New Glarus. Shout outs, one of the best breweries around. If you're ever in Wisconsin, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't get some, assuming you're a drinker.
Yes, I just recently started drinking again after like a 2-year hiatus. I'm all about hiatuses lately. So I'm drinking the New Belgium Dominga Mimosa Sour. It just is it's pretty good, I'll say.
That does sound very delicious.
Yes.
I haven't drank for probably 3-4 months at this point, but I'm drinking a good old glass of water. Shouts out to water.
What brand is that?
Oh, that's the water brand.
Pittsburg tap water.
Yeah, Pittsburg tap.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The barely drinkable kind.
Yeah. Probably no lead. That's the kind of water we got here.
Maybe.
Shouts out to fluoride controlling our brains.
And the listeners already know this is coming because this is literally all I drink most of the time is nice cold PBR because it's cheap and it's already in my fridge. So Can't go
Nice.
wrong.
Nice.
Can't argue with that.
Hell yeah.
Classic.
Yeah. But now we're in the later half of this episode, and this is the whole reason this podcast even exists. Which is funny because we just talked for like an hour about everything about your band, and now we're into the part where like this is what gets me giddy. So this is where we just talk about some fun stories from your time in music, whether it's shows, tours, time recording, recording music videos counts as that. It can be from when you're in Yes Yes. It can be any project. Basically, how I normally say it can be horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between.
Nice.
Okay.
Tell your ghost story, Dan.
Oh, I have a ghost story.
Don't you? That was from tour, right? Exploding Gatorade bottles.
Oh man. Yeah, dude, I'm still freaked out to
How
like
could
as
you
soon as you
forget?
mention that, I get the chills. All right, this is a good one. So, what was his name? The dude from Old Gray, Cam Boucher, I believe. My friend Winthrop Stevens, who is in Philly now, used to be in a band called 100 Acre Woods. Very good kind of folksy band out of Philly. Went to school at Hart School of Music, I guess, in Hartford, Connecticut. And anytime we play Connecticut, it's kind of just like hanging out with like 12 people, you know? It's like, they're all like, dude, I have finals tomorrow. Like, why are you here? I'm like, it's a Wednesday night. Like this, what are you doing? And we got tipped with like a weed nug the one time. Like somebody literally, they were passing around the tip jar and that we just pulled out like a gram of weed the one night. So like you never know what you're gonna get in Hartford, Connecticut, honestly. And it's like always the chillest people, and it doesn't feel like a show. It feels like you're doing band practice. Well, this is rude, but I don't like kind of rude. It's in an endearing good way. It feels like you're doing band practice with people watching, you know?
Yeah, no,
Like-
I see. I totally get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I mean, I think it's more so on me that I'm going to Connecticut on a weeknight, and you know, like I'm judging the entirety of that state on just like playing shows on a Wednesday when you have finals tomorrow. But so the one night we were there, probably on a Wednesday or something, and very chill, laid back show. I know by the end of the show, I was just like jamming out with other super talented musicians there, and you know, having fun, like not. It kind of borderline felt like a show. And at one point I was in Winthrop was living with Cam Boucher from Old Gray. I never actually met Cam Boucher, but I slept in his bedroom the one night.
Your one claim to fame.
That's right. That's when I knew I made it. And his one roommate was not there as well, I believe, and who knows where they were at. And let's see, I think I was rolling a joint by myself in this bedroom to kind of just like have some get away from it all or whatever, and have this, you know, little moment. And I'd been warned earlier in the night that the roommate had like gotten really drunk one night and did the whole Ouija board thing where they summoned some spirits and never said goodbye, never closed out the sesh. So, because they got too drunk, they like passed out. And that was never closed. So, of course, the whole house is haunted. And I'm sitting there in that room rolling the joint, and I forget, I think it was like a quick moment. Like this probably isn't the best story, but it just like still haunts me to this day. For whatever reason, this roommate would like assemble empty Gatorade bottles into pyramids, and like had a pyramid of the bottles on their bookshelf that was like right behind me. And at one point, mid joint, the bottle pyramid just exploded out towards me, and I didn't like actually see it happen because my back was to it, but all of the bottles magically, you know, like were just attacking me in an instant. And yeah, I'm getting chills like just thinking about it right now. Like I feel like there can't be any other explanation other than a spirit like was just like, fuck you, dude, like get the hell out of my room. And yeah, is that a story? I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're good. That one that works.
A haunting in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that one house in Connecticut and shit that they did the whole movie on?
Not that I know of, but I think that's probably a movie in the making.
Now it is.
Yeah.
The weirdest part of the story is just like, wait, this dude is like assembling Gatorade bottles into pyramids? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a weird hobby to have. Like, hey, who's got Gatorade bottles left that I need to get my daily pyramid on or something.
yeah, and it was just presented to us in such like don't worry about it, you know,
Like a
it's
nonchalant
just something
way.
he does. Like, we don't. Why? Literally, why are you worried about it?
It is piss in the Gatorade bottle. Don't worry about it. Just don't think about it.
It's what the spirit wants. Okay?
I
But
thought
yeah,
it was
that's
funny
more,
how, like-
also more so a PSA to just like close your Ouija boards out.
Yeah.
For sure. Make sure to not do it in the first place. But then if you do, you're going to want to close that, say goodbye.
You gotta add the more you know star above
Oh,
all of our
yeah.
heads. Yeah.
And also maybe not smoke weed around sober ghosts.
Yeah, it was a Puritan ghost. No
Did you-
fun.
wait,
I
did-
should have offered. Yeah.
I was just about to say, did you consider like passing the joint to him? Like puff puff pass.
Well, they were impatient. It wasn't even ready. It was in the process.
Maybe roll fast.
Oh, you were still in the roll process?
Oh yeah. I don't think I smoked that joint.
You're like, I'm high enough at this point. We're good.
And I'm sorry that I slept in your bed, Cam, without your knowledge. Yeah, that's okay. So that's one.
Okay. All right, guy.
I don't have like a lot of like vivid memories. Like I have a general just like positive feeling whenever I think about like us learning the record and like us all just being like miserable outside, but then we would just like take drugs and be like, we're not miserable now. And like I just remember like so many days like that, like just like the back of my head would like be throbbing from like just from laughing, but I would also be like, man, I had a fun day and we learned like 2 songs. Sick. So like I don't know, I don't have any like specific memory, at least of like yes but I don't know, I do have some of like when Lawn Care went on tour, and that was, I genuinely view that as like probably one of the best like 10-day periods of my life. So I am just really pumped to hit the road and, you know, make some more of those memories, because it's going to be really, really fun.
Totally. Going to be interesting going on tour now as an older human whose back sucks more.
Yeah, y'all are in your 30s.
I remember on past tours, like reflecting on bandmates sleeping like on concrete floors with no pillows under tables, and like now that would kill me. I am certain I would not wake up from that. There's no fucking way. So we'll see.
I remember the last when Lawn Care went on tour, like it was like a month after I graduated college, so I was like, yeah, dude, this is the status quo for me. Yeah. And then like I remember like a couple members were like way older, and they're just like, fuck, my back hurts. And I'm just like, same, but like shut up. Not really, but like
I feel like some of my fondest memories from music and touring type stuff, I feel like Boston and Worcester, Massachusetts kind of became like a second home. I feel like I met a lot of people from there through music that I just never ever would have otherwise. I mean, that's true for like most places that I know people. It's from doing music stuff. But a good friend of mine, James Ikeda in Boston, who plays as the Michael character, he did this concert series called Bane Voice. I don't know why it was called that, but James is like a true gem of a human. And these shows were like no other show I've ever been to, where it was like all acoustic, 8 acts, but always rain on time. had like a full
Ooh.
charcuterie spread, like wine bottles, nice beer, like it was just like the height of what I think DIY can be. And so I feel like a lot of my best memories are just like going there. I mean, I feel like there's a few other places where I have that feeling. Like, I feel like when you go on tour, there's the ones where you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. And then no one shows up and you like go sleep in the van. But then there's this place where you're like, I know it's going to feel comfortable and I'm going to get to see pals. So having those kind of like places just through playing music and making friends that way is like a really cool, rewarding thing.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I definitely miss about the times that I was on the road. Like me, like I'm originally from Iowa and I live in Minneapolis now. That whole move is because I met people through touring and became really good friends with them. I have a good pocket of friends in like Richmond and Colorado Springs, so you know we made sure to always, yeah, the day before and the day after might be sucky shows, but you know those the day that you're there and your friends are going to be there and you're going to stay with them and hang out, and also you plan an off day just to make sure you get that extra hangs, you know, those are going to make up for like the shitty days and long drives.
Totally. Yeah, you got it rough out there. You got some long drives when you go on tour, I bet.
Yeah, like I was just talking to someone about this, about how like you East Coast people, and I know like Pennsylvania is not fully East Coast, but you guys are close enough where you guys kind of have it way nicer, where to go to a show, it's to go play somewhere nearby, it's maybe like a few hours, but for us to in the Midwest to really hit like the like next state or the next big city, it's a solid like 5 to 6 hours, and then like especially if you want to get out of the Midwest, like it's even longer. So like I remember the last big tour we did like a 3 week tour out to California, and like I mean one driving through like Kansas, South Dakota, and like Wyoming, there's nothing there, and that's a 12-hour fucking drive by itself, and like it's brutal out here.
Yeah, 12 flat hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like fantasy building tour like routes for like a full US tour when I was like, oh, my band's going to be so successful and I should probably be ready for like that full US tour, like, and just like mapping it out on Google Maps and thinking like, actually maybe another line of work sounds great. This is absurd. Like Texas is really fucking big, and like yeah, there's nothing in Wyoming, like nothing in these states, like
Yeah.
I did have one funny thought. Back, I used to be in a band called Fun Home, and before I was actually ended up playing drums in that band, I was just like dating one of the members, and they used my car for a tour back in like probably 2013 or 2014, and I remember for our Philly show, they played at a venue called Moonbase Knicks that a lot of our friends like lived at, and somehow they landed a gig with Francis Quinlan from Hopalong, probably right before or after what's their first album
Get
called?
Disowned.
Yeah, right before or after Get Disowned came out, so right before they blew up. And Francis played like a solo set, and they played like a stripped down acoustic set. It was a great show, and we like we're all nervous and giddy, like, oh my god, that's Francis, like we gotta make our move. So we like went up and asked her if we could get like a Polaroid picture with her. So we posed, got the picture, and then like we're real nervous asking, like we came up with some scheme where we were like, okay, we should like have like an after show at the on like what was the venue called, Michael Jordan, the Brendan from Modern Baseball's house. You're like, oh, let's have like a roof show. Sometimes they have a show on roof, so we'll tell her like that there's this like secret show that you're not going to want to miss, like and we went up to him and we're like, would you want to like perform on roof, like a lot of all the cool kids are going over to this venue, and like trying to like not like trick her, but like trick her into like being our friends and like hanging out with us, and like
trust you, you're gonna want to be friends with us.
Yeah. And we just like asked her, and she was just like, "Oh no, like I have work tomorrow. Like I see what, like, totally transparent. Like I see what you guys are doing." And we got a little bit rejected there, but we were like this close, really close.
You at least tried.
Yeah, and then we hung out on Roof, and it was a great night. But there was no show. We were really pushing though, because we already got the solo set. Like, what do you need the intimate solo set for after that?
Right.
And then another thought I had from that same tour, or it was the next full band tour with Funhem. We played in Montclair, New Jersey, at the Hurt Locker, which I don't know if that's still a thing or not, but that was like the place to play back in the day, potentially still. And it's so close to New York that I don't know why we played New York and Montclair on the same tour, but it's like probably 45 minutes or something. But yeah, this is more on the horrendous side of the adjectives for stories. We rolled up, and the person that like booked the tour for us had a family emergency. Classic. So they just couldn't be there, probably like last minute dumped it on some, like the first person to say yes that was available. And this dude ended up being like a super racist skinhead, like just whipping out Vietnamese slurs. Like it was not, like just no thought to it, and like slurs that I'd never even heard before and didn't recognize as that they were that, but learned pretty quick. And so, and my band members were from Vietnam, so they were just like, okay, that's feel super welcome, awesome, like, and just kind of avoided that dude because he was just collecting money at the door. So kind of just avoided him for the whole night and tried to like focus on the positives. There's a lot of people at the gig. It was, other than that, pretty good vibes. And at some point during our set, this guy wandered off with like probably $300 or something, just like left the door, didn't tell anybody. And then we heard from other people at the gig, like, oh yeah, that guy definitely just went and blew that on a bunch of beer and drugs or whatever, like can't be trusted. And so we didn't get paid for that gig. And then we go to our van, and it was like my band member's parents' van, and we go to close the trunk door, and it like breaks and isn't closing. And we were just like, what is happening? Like, what did we do cosmically to deserve this? So I've had good experiences at the Hurt Locker since then, but yeah, I'll never forget that as kind of just like a worst case scenario. Like that's your, other than getting robbed, I guess, is like such a fear of not being paid.
Get robbed.
Yes. But I still had my instruments at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Jeez.
I don't know. Have you guys had any like, I think you mentioned playing to an empty Cincinnati room, but any kind of like horrendous tour stories?
I feel like there's like a really, there's Cincinnati, which is like sometimes you can play like these shows where you're basically just playing to bands and like maybe like 7 other people, and it like there's like, if the bands are watching, it's like enough where it's like you feel like it's an actual show. But we were playing this one show in like Cincy where literally there were no other bands.
There was one other band, and they left immediately after their set.
Yeah,
it was like hateful.
So when this was like lawn care. So when we played, like we were just like I played trumpet in lawn care at the time, and the sax player, we were just like, nobody's here, let's just switch parts and see what happens. And it went horrible, but Cam was like, yeah, it's on. Nobody noticed because nobody was fucking there. But I think like the next night, or maybe the night before, we played in DeKalb. like an hour and a half outside Chicago because we couldn't get in Chicago, and we like showed up and we were like kind of for like us like an hour we're just like, what the fuck is this place?
It was in like a squat kind of like,
yeah, and then like it was just like really weird. Like there weren't like a ton of people for the first few acts, and then we got up there and like I remember turning around and the place was fucking packed. And it was like the best show probably besides Boston on tour. And I was just like, I will never forget like that janky ass warehouse, but it was also like people were like running into us. Like I remember like I actually like hurt, like I was playing trumpet and like I hurt my like, it was like the second to last night of tour, thankfully, but somebody like slammed into my trumpet and like slammed me into my face.
Ooh.
And it like, but I was just like, honestly, if there's a time for that to happen, like I would want it to be for this. So like it was like really sick.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. That was shout outs to Cal, Illinois. Great spot. It was like, you know, when you play in the middle of nowhere, you're always like, no, is anyone going to come out? But especially if there's like not, it's a place where there's not a lot happening, like people will come out for shit for sure. Yeah.
That's the place to be, where they're starved for any kind of entertainment.
Especially on the weekend. Like I feel like you go in the middle of nowhere on a weekend, like people are going to be like, fuck it.
Totally. Yeah.
Like we played a show, and I think I got it wrong on a previous episode. I think it was Rapids. I don't know. It's somewhere in South Dakota, Rapid City or Sioux Falls or one of the two. But we like pulled up and like the promoter was like, hey, when you guys get to town, stop by my place. Like I'll make you guys food. And we're like, okay, like if anything, we're getting some free food out of this. And like she was super nice. And then she's like, oh yeah, it's this. Here's the address. It's a VFW hall, kind of like downtownish. And we're like, VFW hall. Like let's see how this goes. Like we pull up. At this point, we're all like 18, 19-year-old kids, and like we walk in and there's just like, you know, the VFW regulars all at the bar, and we're like, there's no, like we were the first band to show up, and we're the touring band. We're like, there's no one else fucking here. Like this is gonna suck. And then it was one of those pockets of places where there's not like any bands coming through, especially like if a big band comes through, they're going to like the neighboring town. So like all these kids that don't drive like can't get there. So like they're like, oh fuck yeah, live show. So it ended up being like 40 to 50 kids that came out for this, and it was a hell of a great time.
Nice. Gotta love those. Yeah.
It makes me think of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Oh,
I can't speak to like, you know, it's been 6 years since I toured, but anytime that I went there in the 2010s, like they go extremely hard. You're going to be partying till like 6 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
We played at my one buddy's house. I don't even remember what the venue was called. And we played like all 13 songs that we knew as a band. And then it was like, we started probably at like 12:30, you know, in the morning, and it was like an hour set. It's like 1:30, and we're just like dehydrated and exhausted, and like we had to be like, guys, we literally don't know any more songs, like because they kept chanting like more almost like legitimately pissed off that we didn't know more songs and like couldn't keep entertaining them, and there was still like one more band to go after us, and we had to make that fateful announcement, like, we're sorry, but we literally can't keep playing. Like, we don't know what we would play for you.
Oh, Kalamazoo, I also played in Kalamazoo with the band I played it in college, and we played like all 7 or 8 songs we knew, and then we were the last band, so they were just like, just play the other songs again.
Yeah.
And so we just played like the first 3 songs of the set again.
Yeah, that's Dan and I.
We have to tell this.
Yeah, our one of our other COVID hobbies was playing D&D, and so we just did like, you know, Zoom D&D every week. And by the time like we were resuming normal life, we're like, we should play in a metal band about our D&D campaign, right? Because we were all like musicians and shit. And so when we played our first gig, it was like, I think that was the first gig that I played since COVID. Like I think it was around
Halloween of 2021, probably, because the next gig we played was 1 year later, and we were like, we only play at Halloween. Like,
yeah, it was like, shortly after the vaccine became available.
Yeah.
And we played the whole set, which was about 11 minutes.
Yeah,
it was like
5 songs.
Mostly our friends. There were a good number of people there. I feel like everyone was starved for live music at that point.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they were like, just play the set again. And we're like, we're not going to play the set again. And literally, like, I thought it was like one person saying it. And the whole crowd was like, no, fuck you. You're playing it again. So we played the whole set a second time. And it was also like, people were going ape shit. It was at like, a lot of like folk punk people. I think there was a folk punk band. It was
There's a
it'll come to me. Holy Locust was
Holy
playing.
Locust.
So there's like a bunch of folk punk kids there who like someone like broke a light bulb and everyone was like dancing on the dirt floor in bare feet. And I was literally like, whoa guys, watch out, there's broken glass. And they're like, we know, we don't care.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of
we put it there. Like, come on.
Yeah, it was fucking
We
fun.
like broken glass on our feet, all right?
Too good.
Yeah,
broken glass.
It was like it was nervous laughter. Like, are we really playing this set again?
Yeah.
Like, are we allowed to do that?
all right. Also,
Will the gig gods like descend upon us and like smite us?
also, don't act like you guys haven't done that multiple times.
They tried the second show that we played. They tried to get us to do that, and we're like, "Nah, that can't be our thing. That can't be the
You
band
really
that
don't
always
want
does
to be that band.
Oh, I thought I remember you guys playing the set again.
I think it was just that one time, but I could be. I don't know.
Because I wasn't at that Halloween show, but I was at that one, and I was just like, I'm pretty sure you guys played that set. The second time.
We definitely did not.
Well, then you should have.
Next time. Play it 3 times. Yeah.
While we were talking about that, I thought of a funny, wholesome story that this is actually like pertinent. Our last full band tour with the different lineup, we toured probably, I think it was 2017, and we hit Providence, Rhode Island, and we were like pretty, when you go to Providence, you've probably been in a place that's like less than 2 hours away before that, like Brooklyn or Boston or whatever. So we had like all day to just like chill out at the beach, and it's super rocky beaches in Massachusetts, obviously. So it's not really like a real beach day, but you're still there at the Atlantic Ocean. And I took off my shoes, probably my shirt, and was just like, we were dicking off, hanging out in the ocean for like a couple hours. And I forgot that the tide was a thing. So the tide was rising while we were hanging out, and then I came back and we were like ready to like kind of go get some food and then go to the gig. And I'm just looking around like, all right guys, what'd you do with my shoes? Like, where are they? Come on, I can take it. Where are they at? And it slowly dawned on me like, oh, the ocean has consumed my shoes. And I don't have a bag. I don't have any flip-flops even. I have no footwear at all.
Yeah, that's when you became a folk punk kid. That's
I
how
think
it happens.
so. I just immediately jumped on a bunch of light bulbs. Yeah. And
that's what they call initiation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I had to walk to the gig in shame in barefoot while they all drove in the van. I was like irrationally pissed off. I was like very upset that I'd lost my shoes, and we ended up like going to some super bougie shoe shop in Providence to like buy me a new pair reluctantly. But I was just like, everybody was like, what is Dan's issue? Like, it's just a freaking pair of shoes. Like, get over it.
When Poseidon wrongs you, it feels.
I should have known, because they were pretty awesome shoes. I kept them for like 3 years after that. They were like my new favorite pair of shoes.
Oh, so you're saying that you losing your shoes is what caused God of War, basically.
Yeah, that's the prequel.
The fight against Poseidon.
It's the D&D, and I can tell video games.
Different brands of nerds in this band, really.
Yeah, we got a lot of different kinds.
Honestly, I feel like it's like a scale. Like, I feel like Dan is kind of like right in between, and you and I are very different types of nerd.
I wouldn't say very different.
Different types of nerd.
Yeah.
All right, we consume different types of nerd.
Yeah.
Well, I used to be a point on the triangle. I was very into Magic the Gathering, and then had a moment in my life where I was like, Dan, you're spending thousands of dollars on these cards per year. Like, we need to recalibrate. We need to readjust. And
that was my previous roommate. We'd like go out and like, I think one of the last times we went out to a show at the beginning of May, and like we came home and we, you know, drank a decent amount, got pizza on the way back, and he at some point that night, without like any of us realizing it, had ordered like a bunch more Magic cards. So just for the next couple weeks, like every time the mail would show up, there'd be like a thicker package. And we're like, we know what these are. Like, you don't have to hide it.
It's like it's nothing. It's bills. I'm paying bills.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get many small 2x3-inch bills.
Very thick bills. Yeah, you can't be drinking and playing Magic. It's a really dangerous combination.
Trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, we just moved out of our old house, and I didn't even thankfully have to like pick up his box of Magic cards because I know it would just. He needed the dolly for that. Let's put it that way. Like,
I was gonna say
too many.
one box. What's this?
There was
chump.
There was a few boxes. When he would bring out, he'd like have his like big like sleeves of everything, and he'd like set them on the coffee table, and it would take up the entire thing, and then it'd be still like 3 stacks high. It's like, dude, what's going on?
It's, you know, once you get started.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't even use any of these cards. They're not in my main deck. These are just over here, and I'm like, oh.
Chad.
These are my shit cards.
Yeah.
But then I also got into vinyl, so then I'd have no room to talk at the
Oh,
system.
there you go.
We all have our vices. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's rough,
Yeah.
man.
I just bought a new vinyl and I haven't replaced the needle on my turntable for like a year and a half. I'm like, it's just like something you do, you know. You just buy the vinyl.
Dude, I stopped using my record player, and then I just kept accumulating more records, and I was like, wait a minute, like I'm not even playing these at this point. And then I moved, and I haven't even set up my record player, and I thankfully haven't bought any records lately because my TV's in the way is what I'm using as the excuse that I haven't put anything up. But yeah.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Moving will really remind you how much you need to stop collecting junk. Like,
Yeah.
How about you? But every time I move, I'm like, why would I ever own any books?
No, it's more so, why would I ever move?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's that.
Well, thankfully, the house I'm in right now, I actually bought. So I should not be moving anytime within the next at least 5 years. So fingers crossed that I don't have to do that shit again.
Hell yeah.
Hope that for you.
Yeah. Which also means if you guys are ever in Minneapolis, I have plenty of couches. Feel free to hit me up.
You can't lie to us. We see the sleeping area right behind you.
Yeah.
Well,
this is just one. This is just one. There's another one in the other room.
I'm gonna call our notary over real quick. Come here.
Actually, I am a notary. I have my stamp in the kitchen. I'm not even gonna lie.
That's great. So you're our notary now.
Yeah. You let me know, and I'll visualize it. All right. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna kind of like wind us. Sorry, go ahead.
This is a random thought before we wind down.
Yeah.
I had a thought. Is Gentleman Speaker from St. Paul, Minneapolis, like is Minneapolis the two cities? Is that?
Yeah,
it's St. Paul, Minneapolis.
Are you familiar with Gentleman Speaker, the band?
Does not ring a bell.
They might be from St. Louis. I might be mistaken.
I thought they were St. Paul, but I don't know.
I think they're St. Paul.
St.
Dope band. They're one of the only bands that we've played with since COVID. So just wanted to give them a quick shout out and see if you were familiar.
Okay, I'll look them up. There are so many bands in the Twin Cities that it's like hard to keep track of sometimes.
Yeah.
I knew of one band, and then I came across another band that has their same name, and I'm like, why? We're in the same zip code. Don't do that.
I would like to go on record and say officially, fuck 1,000 times yes from Maryland. You guys can fuck all the way off, even though you were first. I don't want to hear it.
I forget who, but another artist, I can't remember the name, just released like an EP or an album called Yes, Yes, 1,000 Times Yes.
Really?
So I would just like
just recently, it's a single. I saw because I googled our band name for some reason.
Yeah, so I would just like to say fuck them too. No.
Right, terrible timing. Thanks a lot.
Right. There can only be one. We're gonna hunt you down.
Yes.
Why did you not know of our plans?
we're just gonna like come across like in the news like all these people just randomly have their house burned down, but it just also follows like the route of your tour. Surprisingly,
Right. This interview can never see the light of day.
Yeah.
cut that.
We got a lot of burning to do. Come on.
It sucks too because I had like this whole thought of how I was gonna like connect things back, and then we got on the topic of arson, and now I'm like trying to figure out how to like bring it back. But
yeah, arson's not known for really bringing things together.
Yeah.
no, yeah. Well, I mean, Cam, Dan, Ryan, like this has been a great Thursday night. Like, thank you so much. I appreciate it so much that you took the time out of your Thursday to sit down with me and talk about everything. Yes, and everything you have going on. This record truly is amazing, and I really hope everyone else enjoys it as much as I did, and as much as the three of you did. Putting it together. If anyone's looking for merch, music, or just yes in general, where can they find it?
Oh boy. Okay, so our merch is listed on Bandcamp, and I'm thinking is going to be listed on Really Rad's Bandcamp as well, or their website.
Are you doing? I was also going to ask this earlier. Are you doing like any physical releases for this record?
Yes, so we're going to be doing cassettes and CDs of the record right off the bat, and then there's going to be vinyl available like early next year. I don't really have like full details on that, but I think we're going to be doing some like vinyl variants through Choke Artist out of New Jersey, and one other record label. Would have to get back to you on that.
That's okay.
A little fuzzy on that at the moment, and
it does give you 6 months to move your TV though, so
that's right.
That's true.
Now that's a callback.
Yeah. And there's going to be some UK distributor that I know very little about that is going to be partnering with Really Rad to put out deliver vinyl in the UK. So vinyl is on the way. It just obviously takes some amount of physical, time and space to produce that. So it's been a rushed release, but not too much so, I think, so we'll have cassettes and CDs immediately available. We're going to be putting out some shirts for tour, and hopefully we'll have some available after when this episode comes out. And then let's see, we should probably come up with some fun like pens and whistles and all kinds of gadgets to produce, but that'll be TBD.
Wax cylinders we're going to be dropping soon. Get ready.
Right. I've been saying for years, floppy disks are making a comeback.
For the future.
Put out super tiny infinite floppies.
Well, you got to have the flamethrower for kids,
Yeah.
Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And that water jetpack.
Yeah, water jetpack. That's important. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I always think about that one scene in Spaceballs, just merchandising. It's all about merchandising. And he's got like Spaceballs, the lunchbox, Spaceballs, the cereal, Spaceballs, the flamethrower. Like, just market the hell out of everything.
Yeah, get ready for some yes throwing stars, baby. What's up?
Yeah, boom.
For the water jetpack, it'll be moistenizing.
No.
It took me a sec to.
Yeah, it was more fleshed out in my head. So, and then yes, we have like all of the social media outlets. To go back to your earlier question, Twitter. My partner is gonna teach me how to be on TikTok. We've got Instagram is at YY1KXY. That's kind of our like tag for everything. I'm trying to centralize it. So YY1KXY is gonna be what to look out for online. And then we have like YouTube, Really Rad put out Numb Sum on YouTube. I think the record's probably going to be on there, and our music video coming out on July 6th, I believe. Mm-hmm. That sounds right. Yes. Our record release show is July 7th, so I had to think about it for a second.
It was July 7th.
Yes.
And it was sold out.
As you all know.
Crazy.
And we fucking killed it.
Yeah.
Killed it.
But we did not start those fires.
We have never been an arson band.
We can legally say that accurately because at this moment, and we can get that notarized on this podcast.
I got you.
Couldn't resist.
Well, you know, depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or you watch the video version, you got to see their lovely faces like I did tonight. Make sure you check the description down below. Hit all those hyperlinks. Stay up to date on everything. Yes, and you know, be ready for physical releases, new merch, you know, future releases, and all that fun stuff. Obviously, we've kind of mentioned it a couple times. Lawn care. If anyone's looking for lawn care and wants to check it out, where can they find that as well?
Lawn care. I don't know if it's lawn care.
I think
PGH.
it's just lawn care PGH.
Lawn care PGH is most things, but yeah, Instagram, Bandcamp. Terrible search engine optimization on that one, I admit. In retrospect, but yeah, lawn care PGH on Instagram, and you can find all the other shit from there.
And I'll put some of those links in the description below as well. You know, see this trio in a different format. You know, everyone go check it out if they can. I know the tour unfortunately will be done by the time this episode comes out, but everyone be ready for, you know, future dates for when, you know, adulting can kind of get put on hold, and, you know, hopefully catch them in a city near you. I know I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully getting you guys out to the Midwest. But I mean, other than that, all I can say is yes, 1,000 times yes to this record. It's so sick. Thank you so much for spending the Thursday with me. And I mean, I'll catch everyone on the next episode.
Wait, we got to do the screenshot, right? We got to do a chugger.
Yeah, I do that after the goodbyes.
No, but when you say goodbye, we cease to exist. We just dissipate.
But they don't know that.
Well, I should have just waited. Okay. Michael, thank you so much for having us on your podcast. This is my first podcast, my first interview, and it was a great time. Really appreciate it.
You're an excellent host. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Got back on track.
Yes.
Yeah.
Arson. Shout out to Arson.
On track again. Okay.